You ready? You're gonna call it to order at 7 o'clock?
Yes, ma'am. All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order.
Do you have a quorum on the board?
Say so.
I did notice the meeting. And then, did you guys have a chance to look at the minutes?
Looks good to me. I'll motion to approve as written.
The agenda? Oh, I
The
motion
minutes.
to,
The
oh, the
minutes.
minutes from last meeting, yes. I'm sorry.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. My turn. You know what, I did go to the property and posted the notice. I was gonna do the inspection, and then because it was later, I am gonna go pick up the sign tomorrow. And I wanted to see like landscaping and stuff then. I thought it was more appropriate to wait and see if people are giving the weekend. So I did, where it is right now, the only one I did update was the one that was really out of control, and I saw that they did take care of cutting the lawn. So, other than that, I'll update that property inspection tomorrow when I pick up the sign. I did confirm that they did transfer that gate on the restroom because
I saw that too.
that happened. You saw Trask Construction took care of the
Sidewalk.
on Xander. That was the one that we were really worried about. I have not gotten the reply back from them yet about cutting the ones that you said.
Right.
So I'll take care of that. The repair on the entry light, we just talked about that. It was just dangling there. Sent you the financials. You have some ARBs that you need to take a look at. I did contact Yard Stop and they took a look at staking that tree, and he said that it's rooted and they're not able to do it.
No
That's the
wonder,
one in the median on the
Yeah.
way in.
no wonder, what's their name? Tri-Choice hasn't already done it either.
Yeah, they said it's rooted and they can't.
Hmm.
And I don't know why this happened, but it happened with Duke Energy, and it also happened now with the water bill. They came to us January, February, March, and then April, May, and June, they started sending them back to Melrose. And then instead of Melrose giving them our address, they gave them our post office box where you send your payments. So they sat in this post office, I guess, wherever. So just so you know, when you look at your financials, that's the huge difference that you're gonna see, is because we finally got those together. We changed the address again, and so you're up to date and they're paid, but that's why it looks so convoluted there in the financials. I did send you the Comcast agreement. I know you guys got a chance to look at that. Did you see it, Exhibit D, where it added that Wi-Fi spot? Did you guys see that?
Right. Did we get an answer as to whether they were talking about just piggybacking on their existing
Yeah, I
modems,
remember
or did we
him
get?
saying that afterward, but
They emailed saying that it would be technically should work. but
Right.
It's not.
We have to
right.
buy our own modem, I think is what they.
right.
modem and router.
Well, but that's what he suggested,
No,
actually. He
well-
doesn't want to rent one from, which I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, if we can, yeah. They're not expensive, and I could probably donate some.
Thing that I was concerned about is that if we go through the Xfinity Wi-Fi public
It's not as
hotspot
reliable.
that they have, then that absolves us of the responsibility for maintaining it in general forever. I mean, what sort of other security issues do we have of maintaining our own router and hotspot for people? I mean, do we have to have some sort of landing page that we set up to where they have to agree to our terms and conditions before they use our Wi-Fi, or can we?
I don't think we should have our own Wi-Fi.
Right.
No, I think Xfinity should handle
Just
that.
straight through
We just
Xfinity.
piggyback off of it for the access control or the video surveillance.
So then we just take it as is, as far as item D.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
if it's like any other hotspot that I've seen and installed, we could probably be fine with putting our own router in. But again, it's like not in writing, so
Well-
there's no guarantee.
I hate to kind of bring this up at this point of the negotiations with Comcast, because
Yeah.
we're at the end, and I want to be done with this, trust me. But it was brought up to me that there is a new thing they're doing with associations called, streaming, to where it's not cable and it's not internet, but it's basically they're trying to compete with all these streaming TV services, to where they're providing it with their, as an extra fee, like a $10 or $15, I think he said, on top of your internet. And that is a whole different ballgame than cable or internet, and that it could save people. But again, this was brought up to me more recently. I'd never even heard of it. And, you know, it was from a resident. Actually, specifically, it was from Michael Gannon, who used to be a board member and is familiar with all the negotiations. So he asked me to please bring it up. And I said to him, well, you know, at this point, I'm not sure how the rest of the board would feel about even going down that path, because we don't have time. And, you know, and then he brought up, well, you know, they've been telling us we don't have time, and yet, you know, all this time has passed by. So anyway, so I just want to bring that up as, you know, does anybody know anything about that?
Oh, I do.
Okay.
I know plenty about it.
Okay, what can you tell me about it?
Well, it's a long discussion, but I'll try to simplify it. It comes down to which one is more useful now, and internet is more useful than cable TV, because you can technically watch TV over the internet.
Right.
So it makes more sense to have the HOA pay for internet only versus TV or both for more money. So
But the only
I don't
reason
know
why
if
we
we
didn't
can-
change that part in the actual docs is because it said, or I should say in the actual contract, is because it said on the docs that we had to provide cable service. So because of not being able to just change the docs right away without an amendment and all the junk that goes along with it, that we would just have to just continue to provide cable.
So what was the deal months ago about picking, there was like internet,
Well,
TV?
that, we didn't find this out until after we had already gone through all that. So, once we found that out, we thought it was done, but then what he's bringing up is that if you do the streaming service through Comcast for internet with the streaming TV service that they have, that's supposedly a new thing, that then we are providing both.
It's a little confusing because
It is.
typically you can use your normal internet connection
Right.
for streaming.
Right, but
I
instead of
imagine it's
paying
just a-
Netflix, basically, it's a service that comes with your internet through
Xfinity.
Comcast.
It's like
Right.
Xfinity streaming service.
Right.
Yeah, so, I mean,
And you get both, basically.
I don't know if
But
it's
you
too
also get
late,
your regular
but-
cable channels is what they're, they're trying to make it into a way for you to keep cable, but not have to go through Netflix or whatever, and they keep you. So, anyway, it's just, I wanted to bring it up. I didn't know anything about it until he mentioned it recently.
So we don't have any idea what
I don't even know
Comcast
if
would want
Comcast
to-
would want to do that bulk. I have no idea, and I don't know if we want to even go down that path at this point. I just wanted to make sure to relay the information and see what you guys, I'm not the only board member, so I know this is something that we need to talk about and see if it's even worth at this point going down that path.
I've always been pro internet over pro TV.
I
Since day one.
agree.
I think it's more useful, especially for people that work from home.
Mhm.
TV has always been a luxury. Internet, not so much.
Now, when we did try, even if we could change the docs, and if we could, say that we're gonna provide internet instead of TV, even if we could do that, the cost of it was gonna be more, at that time, this is even before they did the little increase, at that time, it was gonna still be a slight bit more per month than just cable. So, with this streaming service, he told me a price, but it sounded like it was a promo. So, I'm afraid that if we go down that path, we're only gonna find out that it's gonna end up being even more money. And, in the end,
Well, I think
people are just better off with
And
just
people
paying
don't just
internet.
use the internet just for streaming, people use the internet for everything.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Well,
you're
they could
not-
still use it for anything, but it would just have the streaming
It
attached.
sounds to me like what they're doing is they're offering streaming from certain sites that would not contribute to whatever your data cap might be. There is a data cap, it's really high and they don't normally enforce it.
Oh, yes,
But
they
they're
do.
Yeah, they
going,
do.
well,
Yeah, they do.
that once
They
you have
do for
enough
me.
people that go over, then they start enforcing it, but that sounds like what it is. It's an issue where they say this, whatever, if you get this streaming service, then whatever data you use for our version of that, doesn't contribute to
But
your cap.
I also think what they're trying to do is offer cable channels that already are in contract with them as a cable company through this streaming service. Because if you think about it, a lot of these cable channels, you really can't get through Netflix or whatever the other, streaming companies are. You can get movies and shows, but you
Right.
can't get channels. And I think what they're trying to do is broadcast, if I'm correct, I believe what they're trying to do is broadcast cable service through a streaming service.
I don't think that they would care about that for us. I think it comes down to the type of infrastructure.
Right.
So cable is, it all comes in through the same infrastructure for them. It's just picking which service do we want to
Right.
pay for. And it's
And I
either
don't-
internet or cable.
I really don't think even if we were to ask at this point that they would, that would be a bulk service we could choose from, either way.
Yeah, I mean, if it's
So-
not, then it's not, but
So
I
I
thought
just
it
wanted to
was.
bring it out and just kind of talk about it, so.
Do you know if we get another opportunity to look at this in a year again, or is it, how long does this go?
I think that's it.
Yeah, this is it, for the remainder of the.
For the remainder of the 10-year, the 20-year term?
Yeah, I think there's 8 years left.
Mhm.
Who knows if cable TV is even gonna be around,
Yeah.
because it's going away. It's just.
I was just looking for the part in here in the documents about the system, installation, operation, and maintenance of cable television facilities or other communication systems throughout the property. I guess this is the part that you guys are looking at where we have to provide.
Right,
And that can't be amended?
if you get
You have to get
all,
the votes.
everybody like
This is part of-
together to
This
do
is part
that,
of
we
the
already
articles
tried
of
and we couldn't.
incorporation, it would have to be done in writing.
Right.
That probably
I
won't
mean, it
happen.
might happen sometime in
And
the
you
future,
also
but
have
not,
to get a
I don't
lawyer
think
to
it's
draft up a
soon enough to be able to
wording.
deal with this.
So, anyway.
It is what it is.
So I just wanted to bring that out, but again, this is not something we have to, consider, but if we want to consider it, then it would delay signing this final contract with Comcast.
Thoughts?
Well,
I wish
I'd
we
like
could
to
have
ask
amended
thoughts
the
of the
thing
people,
altogether.
because it comes down to what they want. I mean, I want internet, that's what I want. I don't
Yes.
care about cable.
So you'd rather hold out on signing any contract until we can get affordable internet?
If,
But you're talking about adding that to the existing TV, because you said we can't take
yeah,
away
I
the
mean, if we
TV.
can't pick it,
Right.
then we can't
So
pick
are
it.
you saying that you'd rather wait on the Comcast to try to do an amendment to change it so that we could only do internet?
Oh, I would love to do that, that's me personally.
But
No.
are you excluding a large portion of the people who don't have internet, that don't rely on
I
internet?
believe, Mr.
We already
Gannon's
did
numbers showed that
Yeah, we already did.
the majority of the people have internet, slightly less than that have.
85%
cable.
of our community pays extra than the free TV service they get just to have internet.
Mhm.
85%.
But that's still 15% that you would be excluding then, not having
Correct.
TV
Out of
for.
that, out of the rest of the community, out of the rest of the community, those other people have some sort of a portion of those have a bundle package, so they don't, even though they don't pay extra for the internet on top of their cable. They don't even want the cable, they just have internet. So, and I think that was like, I wanna say like 10% have DirecTV or whatever other TV service and only pay for internet. So now you're talking about between 5 and, somewhere, a small number, it was between 5 and 10% only that don't want any internet at all whatsoever and don't have any type of subscription to any internet through Comcast.
And they wouldn't necessarily be excluded, we would be actually including them,
Mhm.
even though they may not
Yeah,
want to be included.
I mean, right now, it's six in one hand in a way and half a dozen in the other, in the way that there are many more people than that aren't even using the cable TV.
We're one
And we
of
get
them.
it free.
Me
Right,
too.
We don't, it's
So-
literally not hooked up at my house
Because
at all.
yeah.
You gotta
We
buy
use Amazon Prime and
the
Netflix.
HD package, there's another $10, and then The
in the
basic
end,
lineup is very basic, I mean.
Well,
Yeah.
but what you were talking about
don't
originally
even
was
have the
if you
cable
had
box.
both the cable TV and the
if you had the
internet,
streaming,
we're talking
with
about
internet.
roughly $42 or $43 more per month per lot.
You mean if you had the full
Then
TV
what?
service and the full internet that we thought about having? at
Well,
one
the way I
point?
see it right now, we can't get rid of the TV, so we
Right.
only have the option to add the
Unless
internet.
we
So
add-
if we're adding the internet, then
Unless
we're
we
back to
were to
that
change
package deal.
documents.
Yeah,
Right,
only
but
if
that's
we
not gonna happen
replace it.
within
I'm just
any reasonable amount of
pointing
time
that
for the
out.
contract. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
And
that's-
again,
I think we
like I
should just
said-
go with it as it's been negotiated. I'm not particularly happy with just TV either, but
I just don't like being pressed for time on it. My thing has always been from the beginning, I tried doing meetings with the residents, I tried, getting the word out there, doing the surveys, I've been dealing with this for a long time.
I was gonna say, I don't know that you're being pressed though, because this
Well,
has been going on
okay.
since I started
Is there-
managing you guys, and we're in
Just a quick
August.
I
question.
understand that
Is there
part.
anything
I
in
get that.
the current contract that's being considered that allows for renegotiation after a certain amount of time? Like if
We were gonna
if
add that
Comcast
in.
comes out with a new service,
We
I mean,
were
like
gonna
they
add that
have,
in
then
prior to
perhaps
these
that could
last,
be,
we were gonna add that in.
yeah.
But that was a stipulation that we had gotten them to agree to if we went with TV and phone. I mean, not phone, internet.
Right.
Right, right.
Which then
Okay.
that changed.
Right, so the bulk up package,
The
So then that
X-
changed.
X1, I think.
yeah, the X1
Mhm.
blast internet, whatever that.
So that was something they were willing to do if, and, but again, contract has changed because then at that point, we were pressed for time. Again, it's just like, we had one deadline at that point and then,
Mhm.
so.
Is there anything in the bylaws as far as, being able to meet quorum, like, I can rarely come to a meeting, but I've always sent in my little thingy when you guys have a vote, and so I'm here, but I'm not here. But I agree with and think that people who are in arrears should not have the opportunity to vote. That's a given, and I know that's in there. So is there anything that says those people don't count as far as making
Yes.
quorum?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not like you
That's why
have
they
to make,
suspended voting rights.
right, but in other words, so what's
it's
quorum?
good, when you look at how to establish a quorum, it's active voting interests.
Okay, so it's a percentage of the people who can vote?
Right.
Okay, because that would be like,
Yeah, and that's how we did it last
Counterproductive
time
then.
too. That's,
Mhm.
I mean, we used that ability to
And
take
I-
those people out of our voting
I
interests.
don't think there have been a lot that have corrected it since, have there? Just a small handful.
We still have quite a list going,
Yeah,
yeah,
It's less than last time,
yeah.
a little bit.
it's an
Working on
improvement,
it.
that's true.
So what should what should I be doing with this
Contract.
service agreement? And then whatever you do decide, make note that, it's gotta be notarized. We
How
do have a
long-
notary here, but of course they're not here right now.
What's the date we have already on
Well,
this?
it says October 1st is when it starts.
So we have a month.
So in a month, we either have to amend bylaws.
You are paying $161.40. As of August 1st, the rate increased 5.9%, so the new rate went to $36.60. Once you sign your agreement, the rate will go down to $36, which will be $161.40 difference. Right now, you're paying $36.60.
You mean for all the residents
Correct.
together, the difference?
Yes.
50 cents times 269 people.
Which it's $161.40 difference. So
Mhm.
I
if
mean,
you still
it adds
ride
up.
this out, you'll spend another $161.40 through the month of September.
So again, we have less than a month to either
We have one more
amend.
meeting.
All right, one
Yeah.
more meeting between then and now.
But we can establish special meetings if need be to do whatever we
Well,
need
and
to
I
do.
can't
That's
see that they'll
if
cut off your service, but you do realize it's
It's at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no guarantee.
an option. Will they do it? I
Yeah.
doubt it. You're paying them $10,000 a month.
But we have no guarantee, let's just put this out there though too, we have no guarantee that starting all the motions to do that the whole streaming thing is gonna be to our benefit either. And that's if we do that one. If we switch it to internet, then that's another option, and then just change the bylaws.
But there's so many more options with internet that the homeowner is
I don't
free to
disagree.
do, whatever they want.
I do not disagree. I had a lot more people, and I will say this, when we did the surveying of the community, I had a lot more people who were mad about possibility of having both TV and internet together than I ever had about anyone being upset
That's
to
because it's
just
so
get
much more
internet.
per month.
Right,
Yeah.
they don't wanna pay more for, and I
and
understand,
there's-
cause people are on a budget, and I am too, and so I totally
I
get
mean,
that.
You
So-
said 85% are paying for
Mhm.
both anyway,
Right.
though,
Right,
so,
well, and, I mean, I have 4 different services through Comcast in my house. If we were to go with the bulk up package that we spoke about, the best one,
Mhm.
I would save almost $50 a month.
I know.
yeah, me too.
Me
I
too.
would say
I would
get
pay
rid of
more in
the-
my HOA, but I'd be saving so much more.
But
it would
people
be like
couldn't
$50 a
wrap their
month.
minds around that, believe it or not, when I went door to door and I spoke to people, they could not wrap their minds around, they kept being stuck on, well, my association's gonna be high, and it's like, but you try to
Yeah.
explain, but your cable
You're
bill's gonna
gaining,
go
right.
down. And then if they were,
We're taking
especially if they
advantage
were
of it.
one of the 15%, they're like, well, my cable won't go,
Yeah, I know.
So, I had a lot more people, like I said, that were not interested in the bulk package
Mhm.
than the amount of people that were not interested in just
I mean,
internet.
it seems to me then the status quo, for now, until people can be educated, is the way to go. I mean,
Yeah, but like
Which
for
is one
us,
of the reasons
don't
why we
use the
started
cable
going in
TV,
this direction.
So it would be
Just leave it as
just
is.
my HOA dues going up. Cause
Well,
I pay for my
yeah.
internet, but we don't use our cable.
So you're saying to
We
leave
don't have
as
to move a
is.
box in our house, we
Yes.
literally don't use it.
The previous board majority, we decided to leave as is, that's why we started just,
Negotiating.
going with this contract.
I would prefer to add the internet, but only if we were switching over from, not having the basic TV. I don't, like I said, I'm one of those folks, and I don't know that it's the best deal as a package, but
Well-
if we've got this requirement in the documents where we've got to,
Right.
maintain
So
and
you're for
operate.
not having to change the docs, basically, that's,
Yeah,
okay. And then you're for changing the docs and doing whatever we can to get only internet. And I'm somewhere in the middle.
I'm just trying to think if it could even remotely
It's like our whole
possibly be
community
done.
right there.
That's the issue. I mean, I'm just trying to be realistic.
And I agree 100% with what you're saying. I don't wanna go through the changing of any documents. It's,
what was the quorum requirement at the meeting, the election meeting? Was it one,
I
or
think she
no?
fell asleep. No.
We reduced from 81, I think, is what it was originally.
Was
Yeah,
the,
what number?
Because we didn't reduce it very much, because we're still
Yeah.
looking at 2/3 of the full membership.
Right.
Was the amendments to the articles, was that able to be done
No.
through writing? That
Not
had
even
to be-
close.
No, what I'm saying is through the process, was that an actual physical meeting vote, or was that able to be done
At the annual
through-
meeting?
Yeah, or was that, I remember there was 2 different kinds of votes. One, you had to be there with a proxy. or
If it's
you
the
had-
articles of incorporation.
Could it be done by?
Then it has to be done
by
in writing.
writing? Yeah.
If it's the bylaws then it can be by proxy vote, so.
But either way, you could send in your written,
Written ballot.
Written
ballot, so
Work for
that's not,
both.
so my thing was, right after that meeting, I kept asking, and I don't know where this went, because I don't think it went anywhere, but I kept asking, if we really want to change this stuff, why can't we go door to door and get a written ballot, the good old fashioned way, and not have to do a meeting and meet quorum and all that junk?
And
How about this? How about if we ask Comcast about changes that we could make to this, and then make our decision at the next meeting, for sure,
Yeah, well, I have to.
But that's
be-
another meeting, that's another month,
rather than,
and,
but as long as we do it before the October
Yeah.
deadline, the October 1st deadline.
That's the
So
date
what would-
they have on the contract.
I don't see that timeline working, because if we decide by next meeting,
Still not gonna be
then
able to get it.
you're still not gonna have
Still not
docs
gonna get it
changed,
done,
you're not gonna get anywhere. So we either have to decide now to start the process and change docs and just go with it, or stay with it.
So
And
the
I guess I'm the
bylaws-
deciding vote, So,
The bylaws would have to be changed to just show internet instead of cable.
right, which means we'd have to right away call the lawyer and ask him to draft that up and pay him some money to do that. And then, once we do that, then we have to take that and make a full, written
Two-thirds
ballot,
vote of
yeah,
100 and
to say what we wanna
70 some
change.
people, I think, 150 some people.
And then we have to
Yeah,
send
it
that out
seems
and
like it
get-
was 170.
You know what the reduction was? We had 269, right?
Yeah, I think,
I think it was 30 people
I
less.
think it was 27 or 34 less, something like that.
I think it was 27.
So somewhere in the neighborhood of 158
Mm-hmm.
people. I don't know, I have a hard time believing we're gonna get that many people to sign it in a month.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
Not gonna happen.
That's
Right.
We're like
That's
1
the-
month too late.
So as much as I want this, I really think that it's just not possible where we're at.
What if-
And I think that's the reason why we were going the direction we were.
What if we give it the one more month just to see whether or not they will allow us to sign a shorter term contract so that we can reconsider in a year or two, rather than having to go all the way out to the end of the 20-year?
Well,
Sure.
I don't know. I don't know that they'll do it. I don't know. I'd have to ask them.
Do we wanna take that time
Because
and
then-
ask them if they can?
Otherwise, what is it?
I'm just saying, just shorten the term on the contract so that in a year, we will have had the time to
Listen,
maybe
it
change our
doesn't hurt
documents and.
anything to ask. And if we had till October and we can sign the
Yeah.
final contract next meeting,
All right, so
I'm
you
not
want me to go to
opposed doing that.
Comcast and ask them what now?
Ask them, since they were willing to let us look at the contract after 5 years, the first time when we did it, can they put a similar term into this contract to where they allow us to look at the contract after 2 years and renegotiate, rather than do the whole full 8? I don't know if you got all that.
That sounds good to
Yeah,
me.
I think also if you're proposing an amendment to the articles or the bylaws, you don't just remove the cable TV, say cable and/or internet.
Correct, so we leave it
yourself the
open for
however
whatever
you
the
wanna
community wants to do.
negotiate.
That's a great idea.
Instead of cutting it off entirely, just add an and/or.
Right, and we can tell that to the lawyer if
You
we're
can even
gonna
add,
go in that direction.
or other communication, as it develops in the future.
All right, so I'm
Some
gonna ask them if
verbiage
they'll
like
change
that.
the term and let you renegotiate in 2 years.
Right,
Or
Right.
whatever is shorter than 5.
Yeah, I mean, you
If
can
they
even
can do
mention that
this-
the board is considering amendments to the articles,
It will
so-
take longer than to get to October to do it.
Right, and that it's gonna take longer, right? So
Right.
you're gonna need, some reason for them to
exactly.
allow that.
We're not just being facetious.
Yeah.
All right, so that answered that. I did file.
That was tough for one item.
It's a big item.
Yeah, it is. I did file 54 ITLs. Those are intent to liens, just so you know, with 500 or more in a balance. I'm getting lots of phone calls, of course, my phone's ringing off the hook.
That's the one that goes out certified, right?
That's correct. So, and then the cost that it adds to their account is $107.20. So I've gotten a lot of pushback from that. People are asking to, take that fee off. And so my response to them is, well, then who should pay that?
Mhm.
The other 265 people, or, wait,
Right.
whatever.
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
other 200 people that have paid their dues, you're asking them now to pay your
pay your legal fees.
$107.20.
Yeah,
So-
that doesn't,
It's their
no.
fault.
I
Is there
know,
any
so-
sort of common explanation that you get from people? That-
For not
For
paying?
not
Yeah,
paying.
for not
Yeah,
paying.
not having paid.
I have one particular person that is very distressed about it because we had a conversation about the person losing their job, so there was a hardship there. However, I looked in the account and the conversation that we had was that, and I made the notes, was that what the person said was, they called me on July 10th and they said, well, we want to introduce maybe a payment plan to the board. And I said, well, that's great, you're being proactive, and I'm sure they'll entertain that. And he said, and then on July 24th, he said, I'm gonna send them a $100 good faith payment so that they can at least see that I'm trying to, none of which have happened until August 23rd, when he made a $100 payment after he'd already received the ITL. So I have to bring that out because I talked to him today and I told him that I would bring it to your attention. But keep in mind that if you do that for one person, you better be prepared to do it for
Yeah, it's
54 people.
A month later, after you say you're gonna do something and then you don't do it,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have anything against the person, I don't even know
That
who
should
it
just
is,
be
but.
standard procedure.
Right, I mean, we already started the ITL, it's not going to,
And then he said, well, I'd pay it tomorrow if you take that off. I'm like,
Things-
This sort of relates to a question I had last time too, which was, what's your penetration on the membership for the Century portal? How many people have signed up and?
I don't have that number yet.
Oh, I think I saw, but it wasn't much. It really was not much.
So maybe we need to consider, between now and the next meeting, consider actions we could take in order to encourage people.
'Cause-
I mean, I've always say that, and every time somebody calls me, register to the portal.
Those are the people that already know
register
you
to the
and know you're
portal,
here.
Register to the portal.
I'm worried about other people that
Save
don't know for
$5 now
whatever.
on your payment if you register online with Century.
Well, actually, Revo Pay is offering, I guess, $50 gift cards or something like that to
Oh, yeah.
people, and apparently they sent
Incentivize
emails
it,
to
yeah.
everybody, yeah, so. But at any rate, the whole conversation is I need to make sure that I let you know about account 130, so that you know that we had this discussion, and that's the history behind it. Yes, I did talk to him. I also made notes in his account, and none of that he did. And so
130 what?
130. So, that's that on that. I'm assuming that the board's not taking away those ITL fees. I mean, last time I looked, I ran the new report, and your arrears is at $48,122.91.
We just
Somebody
can't-
paid.
Yeah, it was at 54.
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah.
You know,
That wasn't last night.
What I try to
Yeah.
explain to people is what's gonna happen though is you're a nonprofit, and so at the end of
No,
the
you
year,
won't,
you will
right.
not have enough money to make your,
Right.
operations.
It's
you
still,
know,
yeah,
so-
48,000 is still under, I mean, we're
This isn't
still.
retail. There's
Yeah.
not a markup here.
Yeah, this is operating budgets.
So that's that. The walking path closure signs were sent. I did post the meeting. I'm getting calls from people that live along the perimeter wall. This is what the tree trimming thing is coming about. That those tree limbs are hanging way over the fence, or over the wall, and they want us to do something with
I've
trimming
already
those.
talked to Tri-Choice about that.
Okay, well, they need access to everybody's property.
Right.
And then, of course, that's an additional fee to your contract.
For them to do that?
I would
Isn't
think
there,
so.
I thought there was a,
They
you're
didn't
talking
say
about
that
along
to me.
44?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
No.
didn't say that to me. They said they
Yeah.
have to trim them because it's part of the maintenance, is what they told me. But that, again, they need to go on the person's property to remove it, or we can send a letter saying, you know, this is gonna be happening, and in order for you not to have to be home, please take care of cleaning it on your end, kind of thing. So.
Well, then
and-
you're risking them hurting the, causing stress to those trees by depending on who trims them.
No,
So-
I'm
No,
talking
I
about,
tried to
I'm
trim
talking
them,
about just
Oh.
and
picking
then
up
the
the
homeowner would
trash.
clean up. after.
Right. on
Oh,
their
I
side.
see. They still have to get on the other side, though. I mean, I took
No,
a
they
picture.
said they could do it from this side,
They
but.
can trim it from the 44.
Yeah,
Okay.
but when they do that, they just basically run the thing along the top of the fence. But
All the
pro-
droppings would be on the
The
inside.
droppings would fall on the
Mhm.
inside.
I thought on the 44 side, there's a buffer that's community property between the property line and the.
Wait,
Yeah,
wait,
but-
and I'm
Or are we
talking
talking
about
about on
Grand
the
Island
Grand Island?
Shores.
Okay.
I'm talking
Yeah.
about Grand Island Shores.
Yeah, that's what I
Oh,
They don't
figured.
have a buffer in
Yeah,
that
not
side?
on
Grand
44,
Island
on Grand
No, they
Island
go
Shores.
straight to the wall.
And the house that I took a picture of, I mean, whatever, I don't wanna dismiss her request, but at the same time,
I already know who
it
it
looked,
is.
yeah, it looked okay. But some of them may not,
Mhm.
and so, they would have to access everybody's property to do that,
Did she also complain about the tree moss?
yes. Yes. So, I needed to make sure you're aware of that. And I'm still waiting for a safety bar quote.
I don't want to dismiss that because it's been a while
Mhm.
and the previous management company, when I did talk to Tri-Choice about it, the previous management company was supposed to send out a letter and, deal with it so that they could trim those because it just we keep waiting and then in the end, they never get trimmed.
But we're not talking about where they can just take like a trimmer and trim like
That's
this
what
by
they
the
told me they
wall.
could.
From what I've seen, that's not possible. I mean, really, okay, so then they'll trim just some bottom branches. People are talking about like high branches that are coming over.
You're talking about the actual trees, not the bushes that
No,
are
I'm
right.
talking about the trees.
Okay, I'm talking about the bushes
No, I'm
that are
talking
right
about
up against the
trees.
wall that are.
I'm talking about the trees.
Okay.
So that's, I don't know what you want me to do with that, but at the same time, I have received 3 different phone calls about it.
I don't know, without seeing
I think we need
photos
to,
of the area.
I think we need to definitely make a decision, because you're gonna keep getting phone calls, number one. Number two, we wanna address people, either, you know, say one thing or say the other. And, they're basically talking about grown trees,
Right.
and they're hanging over the fence,
Over the wall.
over the wall. And as they do that, they're hanging low, so it's, you know,
Do we have a quote to
Needs to be trimmed.
trim that area, or are they giving us a price on it already, or?
I did not ask them, I can ask them for it.
let's ask and find out.
Yeah, I mean, if
that's
they
all
gotta
we
have
can do
access,
is
they
just-
gotta have access. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Right, but we can always take care of that with a letter and asking homeowners to, you know, please, you know, when they come knocking, let them into your yard so they can take care of that.
Find out whether they're gonna have any sort of penalties or anything for if the access is disjointed, like you can only do this yard one day and that yard another day, and
Or maybe have Tri-Choice tell us a date when this is gonna happen, and we can maybe let them know.
let everybody
the
know
homeowners,
it's all
yeah.
on the same day.
Keep your gates open, you know, whatever.
What are they gonna charge, and if your gates, if you don't answer us or your gate's locked, then you clean it up yourself?
I mean,
Is that where we are?
I'm game for
I
that.
personally, I would not want them trimming your trees.
No, I'm not saying trim, we're back to just the cleanup.
Oh, you guys are all over. All right, are we talking about bushes or trees? Cause
Trees.
I'm talking about
Trees.
trees.
Talking about trees.
We're still
Okay.
talking about trees.
All right, so I'm gonna ask the landscaper about trimming
How much
those
it
trees over
costs.
the wall, a date that they would do it, how they would recommend to do it, and if there's an additional cost to do so.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Moving on.
That's it. You guys have reports?
Well, I reported the plants that are missing in the front, but there is one thing that I wanted to report and talk about. There is a company that has been going around. They are a consulting company. I think it's KISS Consulting or something to that effect. They are contacting homeowners who have cracks on their houses. I've seen this car, and people have called me up and said, hey, there's this weird car, and it's a little tiny beige car, and it's going around the community and stopping and looking and taking pictures. So I finally did see the car, and I stopped the guy and I spoke to him, because he actually left me a paper in my house too about it. Anyway, this consulting company has been hired by a lawyer of an individual homeowner to go after the builder. So I explained to him that the association is trying to do the same thing. And so, and at the time, unfortunately, I had to go. I was in a hurry, and I was not able to sit down and actually continue the conversation. So I told him I would call him back. That was the day before yesterday, I think. 2 days ago, something like that. So I guess the first thing I want to say is, you know, as a general warning, I know that, you know, this is being recorded and there's going to be minutes. Don't try to sign up with any company that comes around, you know. It's kind of like an ambulance chaser kind of, you know, situation, okay? We're trying to do this the right way with the, you know, with the management company, with the management company, the HOA, and our lawyer here, okay? And we're trying to have an engineer look at every case and figure out what can be done. And I think we should hold up and try to do this together as a community rather than individually.
What was that called?
I think it's KIS Consulting. I have to look for the card again at home.
Okay.
But it's a little tiny beige car, and it's a man with a white hair, white beard.
The report that we've previously received on this is only for a few homes that have self-reported, correct?
Well-
So we don't necessarily know the extent of the
Well, this is
problem?
what he said. He said that,
Well-
now this is his spiel though, don't get me
Well,
wrong.
no, we've already had a report on this.
But we
from-
only had a
from the-
preliminary report. We
And they
never
only,
had
and that,
a
is that
full
correct, that they only looked at a few homes that had?
Yeah,
I think there
they
was
did
9 or
not-
10.
Report on
Yeah,
it.
9 or 10 out of 269.
But there may be more that we don't know
I'm
about?
sure of it.
Correct.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
And not only that, but this guy gave me some good information. You know, like I said, it's part of his spiel, so I don't know what of it is completely accurate or not. But what he's saying is that the law changed, I don't know how many years ago, that builders are supposed to put on a coat of stucco, wait like 1 or 2 days, and then put on another, amount of stucco, and it has to be a certain thickness complete. So that's not what our builder did, and I know that for a fact, because that's not what they did in my house.
Yeah.
And they're not the only builder. There's apparently about 20 different builders that just take the shortcuts and they just do, and
Both codes
they're
ran on
done.
the same day, both.
Right,
It's
so,
just, they're all using the same subcontractors to
Right.
do the,
right,
they get a
They do the
price, whatever
scratch
the
code and
cheapest
the final
price is, that's
code.
what they
Right.
hire,
All in one
Right.
day.
and they just do it all in one
right.
day.
And even if they are putting the right thickness, they're not doing it in the 2
Layers.
steps, which is supposed to happen so that you see what's cracking and then anyway, I don't know. This is how he explained it, and it makes sense. But at this point, I'm still asking the residents, don't try to, go with somebody like this at this time until you have an actual engineer come to your house and, with the HOA, with our efforts, so that we can together try to do what we can with the builder, so.
I think that we need to get a hard and fast number on how many homes are affected before we decide whether or not the association's gonna do anything. If it's just a few homeowners, then it seems to me that they should be
Well,
banded
my
together
understanding
for
is
their
that
own
they
class
will be
action.
bringing it like widespread.
Right.
In other words, it would be like a
We're gonna
class
have a-
action suit.
Yeah.
Right,
where it
that's what
would
they
be-
said.
I feel like
In
everybody
numbers.
I've talked to, they've all had that issue.
And not only that,
Can
but from what I
you
understand,
just back up the
James-
truck, and what is the issue? That there's cracking in the walls?
There's some developer defects going on that
It's not just the cracking.
that we found on the property,
Yeah.
not just individual homes, but, at the
There's
pool
some
area, the
leaks
walking
around
path.
windowsills.
There's just some stuff that they're finding was not done.
Okay.
And so, together, the association got counsel, and there's a co-counsel that specializes in building defects.
Thank you.
And so they're now pulling stuff together, and they will meet with these guys. Eventually, they'll bring a widespread meeting together for the whole community, where they will
Right.
then share everything that they found and what's going on.
And collect names and addresses so that they
At that
can
time.
individually look at every home that's
So their
gonna be
point
included.
is it's not advantageous to you to do it on your own. You still
Right.
must maintain your property.
Unless your home is leaking very badly.
Yeah, you should still
Yeah.
maintain your property, but at the same time, strength is in numbers.
Right.
So that's
Right,
where they're
exactly.
going with
Yeah,
it.
my neighbor has like a pretty substantial gap in his
There's
There's a lot,
Association,
yeah, there's a lot
along
of
with
Yeah, there's
defects.
tiles cracking and it's bad.
Yeah.
Should,
When the drywall starts cracking on the inside or water comes in, then there is, there could be a couple of different things going on, and
should we, I need to get on this list, because we complained.
Well, it
to the
hasn't-
builder.
it hasn't happened
we will open
yet.
that list
Okay,
up to
because we
the
complained to
residents.
the builder and we're told there was nothing they can do and everything was fine and my year
Well,
was up.
and
get over it.
they're not wrong to an extent. Please understand, I used to work for a builder, okay? And in the construction department. And when it comes to cracks, there are, surface cracks on the stucco that can happen, hairline cracks.
Yeah, that's
Right.
what this is.
Right, when you have, different type of cracks that are either not the same level or a certain
Settlement
thickness
cracks.
or an excessive amount of them or the shape of them, there's a lot of different things that the engineer is gonna look at. And that's gonna tell them whether or not it is a defect
I
from
think-
not
We
following
have
the
a
new
windowsill
laws.
I think there were some places where there was a metal drip edge on the overhangs that wasn't properly installed too. And that water's dripping back along some of those two-story houses, they have that little projection. And if there's not a drip edge around that bottom edge, then the water wants to run back and down instead of dripping off.
That happened to us and and I complained to the builder and had them out there repeatedly.
And if that drip edge is not properly installed, then that's a
That's-
construction defect.
Right, and that's what I said. I said, because everybody else said, well, you don't have gutters, we bought an inventory house, which I think we could have done to put it on before. But the water literally came off of our house in sheets. And I'm
Been
like,
there.
there's things are there and they're supposed to guide it and I should be able to put a little thing to like kick it out and get it away from my house. But the water has always just came off of our house in literally just sheets of water.
The back,
All sides. Like the front porch was just a wall of water. I had to keep building up my flower bed because there was just trenches
Yeah.
from the water coming down. And
that's
it-
not the
it
way that
wore
it's
away.
supposed to work,
I understand that.
with that model.
It wore away my driveway. My driveway, the stone is showing. And because of the sheet of water coming down, so we paid to put gutters on because the builder wouldn't do anything. And
So it's all being worked on, discussed, hopefully it's coming out sooner than later.
What is this list, though?
There's not a list.
No, when I said list, what I mean
We need
is
to make
that
one.
we will make one.
Should we, make a notice to everybody? to ask?
Once we have, everything we need from the consulting company that's dealing with our, association with the lawyer, then we can open it up to the residents.
I imagine they'll
and have
draft a
meeting.
letter that
That's what I was
includes
gonna say.
details of all the
Correct.
defects and what to look for if you have
Yeah.
them.
Correct, and then come to this meeting on this date and,
Yeah.
you know, go from there.
Yeah, cause I had no idea that this was like a pervasive thing, you know, they just said that's the way it is, and I'm like, I don't think that's.
Well, we know it exists, we don't know how pervasive it is.
Right.
That day should be the day we make quorum.
Right?
$10.
You know.
There you
we-
go.
Do you need to
yeah.
we'll put the amendment on the same.
There you
Right?
go.
There you
Same
go.
night.
Multitask. All right, so,
Okay. Anyway, so
anybody
that's
else?
what I wanted to bring.
Reports?
I don't have any.
All right. We go to old business. I am still, I left a voicemail for an arborist that I have. I've not contacted one through the city yet, so that's in process, that's why it says that. Of course, the walking path we already discussed. I'm also waiting for a safety bar install quote, because we're not real interested in the electronic one, we're just interested in a safety bar.
Right.
So apparently, like, I have contacted like Fence It, and they actually do the welding
Yeah.
and do all of that, so, you know, I'm reaching into different resources rather than an electronics company. So, it's just, I'm working on it.
Is that something we can get in process? We can go ahead and take a vote and decide whether or not we wanna do that, and so that once she
The
has
bar?
has a quote, I mean, have we decided that we definitely wanna do it? I think we tabled it at the last meeting.
Well,
Because of
my
financial
understanding is
concerns.
that you weren't interested in doing a key fob system.
Right.
But what was important was to make sure that there's a safety bar on that gate to be able to exit.
Open it from the inside.
I
Yeah,
think that's,
so, but,
Would the key fob system take away the, I mean,
Well, you'd
No,
still
it
want a
could be
safety bar.
retrofit, it could be retrofit later,
Yeah.
well, with electric
So you can use
lock.
both?
Yeah,
Yeah.
with an
Okay.
electric lock.
okay, so if you can use both, then I wouldn't have a problem with it, but I definitely think that having a key system sooner than later is important.
I have a comment.
Yeah.
If the safety bar quote is high, like 1,500, 2,000,
can't even imagine that, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
isn't that what the first one was, 817 something and change?
I'm just saying you're not far off
From an electronic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
where we could log people going in,
Sure.
restrict them from going in, I mean,
Mhm.
you know.
It's definitely the
It's
route
value.
I would think you guys would want to consider,
Absolutely. I have no doubt.
so. So let me get that safety bar install quote so that you know, so that you can be looking at and coming from a place of knowledge rather than just going, well, if it's under this amount, let's do it, because I really don't know what that cost looks like. I really don't.
Okay.
And the sidewalk repairs that we talked about cutting that, he'll get me that price. Trask was out there, like, you guys know, and fixed the sidewalk on Xander.
I think when we talked about it last time, we said that as long as it's under that $500 limit, to just go with it.
Okay.
That was what's
Mhm.
our.
Right,
Yeah, for the
cause I
sidewalk.
went with that on the sidewalk, my notes said the sidewalk on Xander, if it was less than,
Well, individually,
500.
each one, yeah.
okay, cause it was 400,
Because.
and it was repaired.
Right, to do the other section, it would have been 680, because it was two sections at 340 each.
Okay, yeah,
So we're trying to get it down to approximately 500
Right.
Alright.
of cutting that one section.
alright,
But as long as it's that amount, let's just run with it.
okay. I'll check that out, for sure. And then, we tabled the playground mulch, cause you guys were
Oh, yeah.
contemplating doing something else with that. First, we said if it was 1,000 or something, but then, people said, well, we could get some bags of mulch, and that's when the waiver came in
Right.
and all of that stuff, so we haven't
We
really
also
done
talked
anything with
about
that.
maybe they could fluff up what we had. Did we get any answer on that, or?
Well, we can't just have people donate mulch because
No,
it
no.
has to be the playground special
Yeah.
mulch. And it's more expensive and no one's gonna be knowing what to do with that, so, as far as, you know, maybe having volunteers to install it, that's one thing, but we still need to have an idea
The
of
install's pretty easy,
price.
they just back the truck up to the thing and dump it.
Right, right,
So,
but they still
break it
have
out.
to break it
It's
out
not
and
that big a
stuff.
deal.
So anyway, so I guess my question is, do we still get a number for, do we still go back to that and talk about whether we should make that expense or not?
I think considering the small surplus that we've had, as bad as it is, we probably should go ahead and do it. I'd hope we could save some money by putting less in, but there are areas that are hard, directly where kids are gonna land.
And what I was saying last time is, there should have been a line item
There's a line item for mulch.
in our budget, so it's, as long as we didn't go over that.
Is that,
It was like
does that
2,000
include
something.
landscaping and playground mulch together, or is it just not?
Just, no,
It's
just
not.
playground, there's a line item for just playground, from what I understand. There may also be a separate one for mulch, actually.
There is,
Or
a
at least
line
there
item
was
for
one.
mulch, and it is $7,000.
Is that
I
all the
get-
mulch though, or is
I'm
it
gonna
just
tell
the
you what
playground
makes me
mulch?
nervous personally, is that your budget is running so out of whack right now.
Right.
That and I understand that the kids need to have some mulch there, but you're right on the edge of doing your budget season right now. And it might be something that you just wanna look at more in detail for
Which is
what's
why we
coming down
tabled
the
it before.
pipeline here.
Which is why we tabled it before.
Yep, so
Could-
I just wanted to make.
Could we put down rubber mats at the bottom of the slides and the swings and stuff and just do that?
Well, you're talking about,
We had a price for rubber mulch, I think was one of the.
Well, no, not
mulches,
rubber
wasn't
mulch,
it?
but like, you know, like you
Like-
see in
Just
schools
the
and stuff, they
landing.
have the pads like under the swings and at the bottom of the slides.
I mean, could we do that?
Well,
That would probably be cheaper than,
I thought I saw a quote for mulch at one point, was like 1,500 or something.
Yeah, it was.
Something
The
like
playground
that.
mulch
Yeah.
is expensive because it's
that's
special.
what I'm saying, mats can't cost 1,500 to put a
Sterilized.
couple under the slides and under the swings.
Who do we talk to?
As long as it's done the right way, cause you don't want it to look, you know, cheapy and kind of,
Well, it
'Cause
looks like
those
crap,
mats-
now it's just dirt.
I understand. And I get that too. I get that too. I've seen it to where those things get really messed up really quickly and,
A couple of ticks.
Do you want me to
But
ask
I-
him the best price he can give me on putting some playground mulch in there? Maybe we can,
Reduce it a little bit. I mean, that's what we talked about last time, was trying to reduce it by
to 1,000, yeah.
putting
Do
less.
you have somebody particular you deal with?
well, this is the same landscaping company we have a contract with now.
And it's
I
a
know
certain,
the- I
it's
know
a
the
certain
owner of
special
Yards-
kind that's been sterilized and.
Right, I know, but I know the owner of Yard Stop.
I can ask Yard Stop too, I mean, we don't necessarily have to stick with your landscaper, you can
That
have
sounds
someone
good
else
to
do
me.
it.
Let's see what price they can give us.
Mention her name too.
And then,
She
so
knows
we,
the owner,
just
so.
so that I'm trying to figure out, I'm just trying to figure out if I remember correctly. Has that line item been taken out that is just playground?
It doesn't, yeah, it just says mulch.
So there's no playground line item at all, because I don't remember honestly at
Well,
this
you
point
have a copy
in
of
the year.
the financials right there with you.
I don't recall
Well, I'm
seeing
talking
it.
about the budget.
Well, you should still.
Yeah,
have
but the
budget.
budget's reflective of your
Right.
operating. And I see landscape restoration, and I see one for mulch, that's what I see. And then
Yeah, I
let's
see
see
that.
if we go down here. You have rec area repairs and maintenance, but I mean, that's real low.
Mhm.
I don't see that on here.
What's specifically, what is the landscape restoration?
I did not make that line, I don't know. That was a budget that they gave to initiate. I don't know what their thought was behind that as to what they were putting in there for that.
So if we spent a little bit of money on it, $230.
It's probably a line item they had to make because of repairs that have had to happen to landscaping, whether it was the center area, things that they had to do after the hurricane.
Actually, I think that might have been what that was, where they have to cut those shrubs down a little bit in the, what is it, Yardley and something else when people are trying to pull out, that might have been what that expense was. I could find it for sure, I just don't know it off the top of my head.
I mean, the big blind.
Seems
top.
like,
Yeah,
The-
yeah,
seems like it comes under rec area repairs and maintenance.
There's already a wreck there.
yeah, I know. Let me see, I'll check with Yard Stop too and see what it comes up with.
$50 in the budget for the year, that's year to date,
Yeah, that's.
1,300.
All right, so can we move on?
Yes.
So we already talked about your board certification forms, Kevin, if you decide to do that, I know you're registered to go. I saw that on there. And then you're on new business, so your board operations policies. Did you revise that, Kevin? I got the consent agenda, but I didn't. this
Right,
is
Dimitri
what I-
made the corrections that we did at the last one.
On
this?
Yes.
Yeah, I printed them here that, from the ones that Dimitri did.
Okay, because I don't have that.
What?
You
I thought it was like
made the
3
few
pages.
edits on the,
It
edits
was.
based on the Google Doc.
It's this one.
Oh,
Yeah, that's.
We don't have it. We
Yeah,
don't
I didn't
have
put
it.
it in there.
Oh.
I
That's what
printed
mean,
this
I
from the
don't have
Google
it.
Doc you shared.
okay.
I thought of one other thing, and I guess it's the board operations policy. I'd like to see, if possible, to see the minutes available within 7 days after a meeting, like for us to approve. Is that something that's, with your schedule, you can do?
Yeah, you just have to tell me, well, and you have that in the consent agenda too, to be able to approve them.
Right, but we didn't have a date, as far as when.
To provide
when you would
you
get
with
it to us. So
in
within
7
7
days.
days of a meeting, we see the minutes and then we can approve them and
Sure.
then post it to the homeowners. So I'm not quite sure where that would have to go, somewhere on the board operations policy. I don't know, maybe it's just number 11.
Well, you should be able to edit, right?
Yeah, I can edit the doc as it is.
Is that the only revision that you saw in there? And I don't have that, so you'll have to revise.
Well, the
and
other
send it.
revisions, yeah, the other revisions we had already talked about, it was just a matter of putting them in. But
So,
it would, I still need to go through and take a look at it
7
myself.
days
You should be able to see it too.
Yeah, I know, I saw the permission email,
for manager.
I just haven't looked at it, since he's fixed it.
Minutes for approval. And then that way we can get it out to everybody within a week or 10 days or something of the meeting, rather than wait a whole month.
Mhm.
I think this was the only one that we still had a question here too. You had, as far as what did we decide on for the end of the meeting? Open discussion forum or 3 minutes at the end. I think we were still kind of up in the air about that one. Anybody?
What, I mean, I don't understand why that has to be one or the other, like.
I'm not necessarily sure it has to be either.
Okay, because, I mean, to me, it depends on the meeting, it depends on when you have your open forum, whether sometimes you have it at the beginning if it calls for it, depending on what you're gonna talk about, sometimes you could have it in the middle of it, sometimes you could have it in the end. Always by law, it's at least 3 minutes, so, or I should say max 3 minutes.
So I can just edit this bit here about, it could be either 3 minutes per person,
3 minutes or less.
3 minutes or less per person, per topic, or open discussion forum, depending on attendance.
But what I'm saying is, even if it's open discussion forum, they still individually have the 3 minutes.
How do you time that, though? If he's talking and he's
Yeah,
talking and he's
right.
talking, how do we know whether his 10 seconds and his 30 seconds, and I don't know that you can, if
Single
it's just
file
open,
line.
it seems
Yeah,
like
I mean,
we're.
you go by
Microphone.
order, you go by order, you have a written list,
Well, then
and you
that's
do
the
one
3
person at a time.
That's not so much open discussion as you get your 3 minutes to say your piece and move on.
Right, right.
I don't know, I feel like.
Tomato, I say tomato.
Feel like we're all friends here, we can have an open discussion, I don't know, unless
I
we
mean, when we
need
start
to.
having 269 people show up
Yeah,
at the
then you-
meetings.
yeah,
then
right.
Yeah.
Which is
you
fine,
can
which is
always
why,
change the rules.
if we write this to say that member discussion may be in an open forum or 3 minutes per person,
I think
depending
leaving
on
that
attendance.
open- Yeah, I think
And then
that,
we can just
I
decide
think leaving that
at the
open
meeting.
makes more
Yeah.
sense.
Can we then vote on these individually and just finalize the last edits in between meetings? Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah, as
That
long
would
as
be one of the
the
first.
only changes we made were the ones we talked about last
Yeah.
time,
Right.
then I'm okay with that.
And then, well, and the 7 days,
And
that's the only thing that that's for the board operations policy.
right, and I've read the consent agenda.
All right, so what am I putting in the board operations policy for the minutes?
Minor changes.
You got a
Minor
motion-
changes.
Motion to approve it with the minor changes.
Included on the consent agenda when the edits are made. And then we can just, we're saying now that with these edits, this is good,
So someone's gonna motion to approve as.
as discussed.
As discussed
With
for-
minor edits.
Okay.
Um,
Someone-
So who's motion?
Final version to be approved by consent agenda.
Okay.
I motion
And
to
that's
approve
just
that.
that's the board operations policy, and then there was two others too. The assessment collections policy. I think this one's fine, although I keep reading over this section about the timing of when everybody gets their notices, and I'm still confused as far as when those happen.
Well, they don't go
I
out
know
until
if-
after the 15th. Well, they're not delinquent
That's
until after the 15th.
That's the first delinquency, right? So that's the
And-
one that's described here in A
And
and
then that's
B.
sent out, yes.
And then the certified mail, that goes out 30 days after the 15-day period, so 45 days from,
Well, not,
From due date.
actually, you can send it out 30 days after.
okay.
You know what I mean? I mean, if
So
it's
it could be
due on
another
July
15 days
1st,
after that.
when
So
you
they get
hit-
15,
when
they
you
get
hit-
15 days to respond to the original delinquency notice.
yeah, the reminder notice goes out, and then if nothing's happened at the end of 30 days, then you can file the ITL.
Fit on, that's 45 days,
Yeah, that's
so that's.
45 days, not 30.
The
On
ITL,
paper.
the
Yeah.
ITL takes yeah.
The
you
notice
have
of the
45
intent to
days.
lien goes out at 30 days past due,
Correct.
not 30 days past.
So 15 days,
So
the
this is
reminder, 30 day
15,
is
this
the
is
intent
30,
to lien notice.
this is 45 is the,
45 is the actual ITL.
right.
And then if you do a
And then it's
lien
45 days after that
for the lien.
that the lien actually happens, so basically 90 days after.
Right.
That's what I tried to kind of explain to people too when they were calling, because I was like, well, you know, we're getting to the end of the year here and we need to make this money up. So, you
Mhm.
know, if legally we have to give you, you know, that 45 days after that ITL, you've already gotten into, you know, like you said, now you're hitting the 90 days. We're at October, November, December, and we're not gonna make
I
operations.
just wanted to make sure I understood exactly what we were talking about there.
Mhm.
Other than that, I'm fine with this one as
And
is.
then the next payment on their assessment's gonna be due.
In January, that's right, exactly it. All right, so I
So-
just put board operations policy to be approved with minor revisions,
Right?
and someone
this
needs
is-
to motion to approve that.
I motion to approve it.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Alright.
And then the other one is the assessment collections policy. I'm fine with that I'll go ahead and make a motion to do that as written.
Okay.
I second.
What they're doing is they're putting things in a process so that I know that it's already approved, and I know the days that I can start firing actions, is
So
what they wanna
once
do
we-
without
Anybody
waiting.
want to look, you can.
And when we say consent, voting by consent, which that also has to be approved, motion.
We'll get that to in a minute, yeah.
Right, but once we do that, then, once the changes are made there, since we've already approved the changes that were gonna be made, and it's just typed up and we can read it and look at it, then I can go ahead and sign it without being in a meeting. So that's what the
Right,
consent
and
is.
then those consents get ratified at the next regular
Correct.
meeting.
And then the other one here is the rules enforcement program, and the hearing committee, I guess, is kind of tied to that. I think everything for the rules enforcement is fine. The only thing I'm thinking about is the hearing committee. Looking at the governing documents, it looks like the actual committee is only appointed if someone requests an appeal. Like, what we would have to do is get a pool of interested people, and then if someone requests an appeal, we choose 3 people randomly out of the pool.
But I was
It's
under
like
the
a drawer
impression,
pool.
but I was under the impression the hearing committee that's talking about here is more along the lines of, related to the, rules.
Fines.
Right, to the fining committee, to the rules enforcement.
Well, you're talking about covenant enforcement committee.
Right,
That's something different.
Right.
Um,
but we
I don't-
had discussed a different terminology, that we really couldn't call it this because it would get convoluted with
Right,
that.
well, I think we need a hearing committee, or an appeals committee, however you wanna describe it. Because we can't, there's certain things we can't do unless we have that appeals process in place. We can't suspend use rights, and there's one other thing too.
Well, actually, we
ARC-
can
if
do
we
that
deny
with
the,
our
if we
committee.
deny an ARC request, then we have to have an appeal process too.
Right.
I understand that one, but the finding committee also allows you to be able to,
Well, but when you're talking about a finding committee, you're talking about a committee that goes around and looks at the homes and says, well, this
No.
one's out of compliance because of,
no, we're talking about, well, that would be a rules enforcement, but it would be a separate, from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, it would be a separate committee that actually takes the recommendations from the rules enforcement committee, and then at that point brings up, like says, okay, there's this many days that this person has been non-compliant for this or that or the other, and then we need to, we request that the board enforce, a fee of $100.
it's basically the covenant enforcements. My personal opinion is that's something that the management company should do to try to prevent setting neighbor upon neighbor. I think having that buffer of a professional between the board and anyone that makes those decisions is a good thing.
But
Um,
legally, I think, from what I understand, again, correct me if I'm wrong.
When you impose a fine.
When you impose a fine for enforcement, it cannot be done by the association management company. It has to be done by a finding committee.
No, the board levies the fine. We talked about this at the last meeting. Remember, Dimitri looked it up. The board levies the fine, and then if the homeowner wants to appeal, then they can, and then we have to have the hearing or appeal committee in place in order to hear the appeal. And that group has to be different than us because they're supposed to be neutral.
Mhm, right.
But we also
Sort of
brought up-
arbitration, right?
Right.
We also brought up, though, that at the last, at the, what do you want to call these things? The board certification that I went to, it was highly suggested by the attorneys. Now, I can't name every single reason because I'm not a lawyer, but it was suggested that you should never fine as a board, even if you can, without a finding committee. And I brought that up last time. So, which was the reason I was concerned and have always wanted to have a
I
finding
mean, is
committee.
the purpose of the finding committee to assemble a sort of argument why there is an existing violation? So that the board isn't making that determination like the ARC does, right?
Right,
The
like
ARC
the
says, okay,
others.
this is, and then we make a recommendation to the board. Is the finding committee similar to that?
From what I understand.
Right, and then it becomes the board's responsibility to either impose a fine or dismiss whatever the finding committee.
Right.
I don't know enough about it.
Actually, the hearing committee actually helps to establish that fining process. In other words, they can say, don't fine this person, or they can revoke it.
Right, well, from what Dimitri read the last time was that the board levies the fine. And our documents talk about 3 different levels of fine, $100, $500, and $1,000. And anytime we either fine someone or we suspend their right to use either the pool or any of the other amenities, or we deny them an ARC request, we have to have an appeals committee in place in order to handle that, someone that's different than us. So, rather than deal with figuring out who actually does the fine, how about we get the appeals process in place first? And then, if we need to do a committee to do the fines, or if we want to have the manager submit the reports and have us do the fines, either way. But no, we can't do any of that until we have the appeals committee in place. Because if we fine someone $100 and they want to appeal, and we don't have anybody to handle the appeal, what do we do?
But I thought you said that you reread and that it was on a case-by-case scenario
Well-
where you had to choose an individual set of people for that particular homeowner complaining.
What it talks about is when when the appeal happens, that's when we appoint the committee. And that's why I'm saying that we should have a pool. And if you have a pool like that, of interest, like everybody here that's in the room could sign up for the pool if you want. And if we get an appeal, we might give you a call. Let's make that list later, before everybody leaves, Deborah.
Please sign this piece of paper on the.
That way we can either choose randomly, or we can make sure that we don't choose someone that has an interest in that person's appeal, like your neighbor.
Mhm.
Choose somebody from across the neighborhood so that there's not a conflict of interest. And that way, if you have a pool of people available, you 6 or 8 or whatever people that can sign up, then you just pick whichever 3 you need. I can find it again, I think, but I'm not certain where it was.
I don't have personally, I don't know how Dimitri feels, but
In addition to all remedies, in the sole discretion of the Board of Directors or the Association, a fine or fines may be imposed upon a member for failure of a restriction, rule, or regulation contained herein and rules or regulations promulgated under the Articles of Incorporation or bylaws of the Association, provided the following procedures are adhered to. A notice.
Page number?
27. Notice, the association shall notify the member of the infraction. And then B, a hearing, a non-compliance shall be presented to the Board of Directors, after which the Board of Directors shall hear reasons why penalties should not be imposed. A written decision of the Board of Directors shall be submitted to the member no later than 21 days after the Board of Directors meeting. And then there's an appeal. Any person aggrieved by the decision of the Board of Directors as to a non-compliance may, upon written request to the Board filed within 7 days of the request, shall consist of 3 non-interested members of the association. The appeals committee will meet and file a written determination of the matter and serve copies on both the board and the aggrieved person.
Back up there a second. He says, an appeals committee will be appointed by the board within 7 days of the request
Mhm.
and shall consist of 3 non-interested members. So that's where I came up with this idea of a pool. Where you have a pool of interested people and then we appoint
Oh, yeah,
from
yeah,
that pool.
because you need
I
it
have-
7 days.
I have no problem with doing that, just as long as, I just definitely want to follow the attorney's advice and eventually have a finding committee to be able to find people.
I think, well, do you need to hold them together? I mean, we can move this and deal with the finding committee later.
Yeah,
Is that fine?
Yeah, but it sounds like you need to have the appeals process in
Set up.
place first,
Right.
before you can even impose a fine on someone.
That's
Right,
right, yeah.
right.
So,
Mhm.
can we open it up, once we approve this document, can we then just announce it on the site and, put the actual committee
Description.
request and description, out there for people to sign up for this pool?
Say that again?
Or are we appointing the people for this pool
I don't think so.
committee?
I think we just,
Or do we
You
just
just get
put it
a
out
pool
there?
of people and then
We
you
So we
appoint
would,
them.
we approve it and then we put something out there on the website or a letter or something to tell people, hey, sign up for this.
do we need to add something to the beginning of this that says a pool of interested volunteers will be compiled by the manager? Something like that?
Or this committee will be made up by individuals that will be called upon to
Right.
form a hearing committee when needed.
Will be compiled by the manager. So got it right in the hand now. Spent all my time typing. By the manager,
So you're gonna revise that and send that to me?
yes.
That was the last one, right?
No, there's still consent
Oh, the
agenda.
consent agenda, yeah.
Blah, blah. All right.
I
You wanna do
motion
that
to-
first, or you wanna do the waiver thing first?
Oh, there's that.
I think the waiver's easy, how about we do that?
Yeah,
It looks good to me. I went over it earlier.
What they're doing is they had the attorney draft up a waiver so that if there's somebody in the community that wants to do some work, like we had someone that volunteered to power wash the pool deck, the concern was the liability, of course. So they've now got a waiver in place that they can put the scope of work on here and that person can sign this. That way you don't have to put the association in a liability situation.
Did you find the person again who was doing the power washing?
Yes, I know who he is.
Yeah.
It's,
Tim?
Tim, yeah.
I've been in touch with him, and we were actually scheduled tomorrow morning for 8:30 a.m.
Well,
Give
you
'em a
kind of
waiver.
need this.
I know. I told him that I would,
I motion to approve this.
he said he would either come to this meeting or I could bring one in the morning.
Okay.
He just texted me and said he needs to be a little bit later than that, but we'll go ahead and try to do it tomorrow morning.
All right, so motion
So-
to approve the waiver,
Yes.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, now we're doing the
Consent agenda.
consent agenda.
Did you guys get a chance to look at this?
Yes, I did.
Any questions, comments,
Nope.
et cetera?
I'm good.
No, I'm okay with it.
There's a couple items there that I put question marks. I wasn't
Oh,
quite sure
yeah.
whether we might discuss those. Approval of maintenance contracts for less than 500. We want to leave that at that amount, or
It's pretty standard,
is it?
yeah.
Sounds fine to me then.
Mm-hmm.
We just.
Are on these mailing of delinquency notices, I put reminder notice, that would be the first one at 15 days, the ITL, the actual lien, and then the foreclosure. Are there
Well,
any
the-
of those that you believe that we need to do here in a meeting rather than through consent, like
I think the foreclosure.
the final end of the
And we have the
project?
time,
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna look at that AR report every month.
right.
And if it's getting to where you're doing a foreclosure, I would think you're gonna wanna talk about that probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think we should take that off the
So
list.
it would be the reminder, the ITL, and the lien, but
Those,
not.
those
but-
are, those, and
not the
here,
foreclosure.
and here's why I say that too, because the ITL and the lien, those all happen internal.
Right.
Century takes care of those. When you start going to association foreclosure, that's when you have to start approving cost deposits to attorneys.
Right.
So I think that's a better decision made at a meeting rather than
Right.
on an
Let
agenda.
me go ahead and share with everyone here. This policy is intended to group the routine, procedural, and self-explanatory, non-controversial items of business that are regularly performed by the community manager. It is a comprehensive list of all of the items or categories of items for which the board of directors has provided prior consent to the community manager to go about the business of the association. It is also intended to allow the board of directors to act when necessary upon important time-sensitive business outside of board meetings, and to provide a mechanism for the reporting and ratification of any such business. The provision of prior consent does not entitle the community manager to act without oversight by the board of directors. For each item or category of item, the community manager will request to verify the unanimous consent of the board of actors before taking action. Board members may object to any specific item, removing said item from the consent agenda to the regular agenda for discussion and debate. If there are no objections, board members should state to the community manager that they have no objection. Board members may refrain from answering if they wish. Community manager may proceed with the action immediately upon verification of unanimous consent, or after having received no formal objection 48 hours following the request to verify consent. All actions taken in this manner will be reported on at the next board of directors meeting, where the board will vote to ratify the actions taken as one package. New items and/or category items may be added to this consent agenda, but only through discussion and debate in an open meeting. It's not me, is it? All consent agenda items will be specified and included with the meeting minutes. All references to association members in the consent agenda will be by lot number only. Consent agenda ratification will occur at the beginning of each meeting. The chair will ask if any board member wishes to remove an item from the consent agenda for further discussion. Gives you one last opportunity to talk about it before we actually do it. Ratification items where the action has already taken place by the manager can still be brought up for discussion for informational purposes only. The chair will then ask for a motion to accept the consent agenda. Once the motion is received, the chair will ask whether there are any final questions for any items remaining on the consent agenda. Final questions should be brief. Any item that requires further discussion at length should be removed to the regular agenda. If there are no further objections, all of the items on the consent agenda are considered to be passed. Following items are those for which the Grand Island Reserve Homeowners Association Board of Directors hereby provides unanimous consent. Approval of board meeting minutes, approval of ARC committee recommendations, appointment of hearing committee members, appointment of officers for the board and committees, approval of maintenance contracts for less than $500, mailing of delinquency notices for the reminder, the intent to lien, and the lien, but not the foreclosure, mailing of notices of suspension of voting rights, mailing of covenants enforcement notices, correspondence requiring no action. I put as examples there bid and info requests from vendors. I don't know if there are other possibilities that might fall under that category. Might suggest them if so. Correspondence with the association's attorney regarding new issues. Obviously, anything that's in progress already, we continue. Final approval of proposals that have been thoroughly discussed and debated previously. So that would be like the one where we were talking about here, where we're just making final edits. And so within a couple of days, we can fix that and have it be official. And then dates of future meetings, whether they are for the board, committees, or member meetings.
Other than
Thoughts,
that
questions?
foreclosure, other than the foreclosure,
Right.
I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Somebody motion to approve?
I motion to approve without the foreclosure.
I second.
All in favor?
All right, and I'll edit that and send all of these together.
All right, so, that was it, right? Yeah.
For the
Oh, yeah.
form approvals, yeah.
Okay,
We're on
and
G.
then I have, then we're on the AR report. The only thing I was gonna ask is I marked 3 of them, or actually 4, and it was just, their account is cleared to date, except for you have one that has 76 cents of interest, one that has $4.96, and then I wanted to know if I can waive those small interest fees from this last month.
It's just an issue where it like crossing the mail.
I think so, yeah, because one lady, that's exactly how it was. She paid it, but it crossed in the mail, and so when she got her notice, it didn't reflect the $5.46.
Right.
I see.
They're low,
Yeah.
Yeah,
The question I asked was in reference to one of the homeowners that I mentioned that had like a 97 cents remaining,
Mhm.
and I never did get to see his notice, but my question was, when you send out that delinquency notice, does it have a date that says, pay by this date to avoid future interest charges?
I don't know that it says that, but at the same time, you know that your interest rates are calculating on an annum basis. And
Right.
so if you're not paying them, it's like, almost like a credit card where you're going to keep incurring interest charges.
$5.46 per month
You know,
now.
so,
Not that much.
I just wanted to know if I can, in fact, do
Um,
those. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, it's a matter of 6, 11, 16, maybe $17 total. And that's exactly how it happened. They paid, and then I think they paid their amount, and then
I'm fine with waiving it.
it crossed.
Is there a cutoff amount that you're looking at?
In the
About,
last
so-
meeting, I was okay, you know, cause I think there were more then, and I was okay with anything under 10, but
That's been pretty standard for most
That sounds-
associations.
That's fine with me. Yeah.
Okay. So someone motion to approve that. Demetrius, you're good with that?
Yeah, I'm good.
Second.
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
so ARB applications, or ARC applications.
Oh, real quick, you guys, like, I've gotten so many different copies of this alteration application. I don't know
I
which one I'm using.
I sent the last email I sent to you, Deborah, specifically, and copied the board, included 4 documents. That email, they're actually dated, if you look at the application.
August 18th.
Hold on a second, I can have my copy here somewhere. Yeah, August 18th in the lower right corner, that's the latest version.
Okay.
Okay, so I made sure I included a date in the footer, just so
Okay.
that we
Without
can
the
keep
black.
track of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so the ones from August 18th are the ones that I'm using.
Correct.
Okay.
That's the ones with all the black and white logo.
Yes, black and white logo. Mhm.
Okay.
Do we have to motion to approve the form with the logo?
Well, no, I mean, I would motion to approve the alteration application, and then there was.
And then the rules, the process.
Yeah,
document.
the approved with conditions and a suspected non-compliance and the alteration application process, all of which are dated August 18th.
Correct.
We don't need to protect in any way, shape, or form our new logo, do we? From use,
Like a
unauthorized use.
trademark or something
Or
like that?
unauthorized use, like someone trying to pretend to be the association.
What are they gonna do with it?
Listen, I'm just asking if we need it. I'm not saying
I don't
that
think
they
you need
would.
to-
Very generic.
Yeah,
So,
I don't think you need to patent it.
Well, not patented, but
And a little R with the
Copyright.
circle next to it.
I just,
So,
you know,
Creative Commons
I guess
license.
you could always have a neighbor try to, you know, use it to get back at another neighbor or something, I don't know. I just would rather,
Cross
They
that
could
bridge
take
when we
any
come
of
to
those
it.
forms. and
They
do
could
whatever
take
they
it out,
wanted to.
scan it, and you'd have it.
Okay.
I mean, If
Yeah.
you were
Right,
gonna
so-
go to that extent.
So motion to approve, alteration, forms, et cetera,
Mm-hmm,
submitted August 18th.
correct.
Someone motion, please.
I motion to, or,
Second, whatever. Not that one and not that one.
no.
It's the black and white ones, yeah.
Mhm.
All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay.
I would just like to request too that these forms get put up on the portal, Century's portal, and also our website as soon as possible, so that,
It is a website, it's not a website.
well, it's kind of a bare bones website right now, but it is a website, yes. GrandIslandReserve.net.
I'll put them on there.
Okay, just so that people will start using the
Sure.
new forms, okay. Thank you.
I haven't logged in yet. Have you logged in yet? Neither have I. Sorry, Dimitri.
Hey, I
Wow.
logged in.
Did you?
Actually,
but I-
signed up for the newsletter.
And then just real quick, that Cabana reservation application was good. You guys took a look at that and that was okay? I changed everything that you told me to change
what-
on it.
Oh, that.
What happened? Did that homeowner put a deposit down or not? I met them out there that morning and they said they weren't going to put the tent up.
Oh, okay. No, they never, we didn't insist on a deposit because of the timing of it.
Okay, right. Okey dokey.
So that Cabana
So-
reservation application form is okay?
Right, motion to approve that.
Okay.
I like the
Second then.
logo. Can we add it to it?
Which one, this one?
Mm-hmm.
That was Dimitri, wasn't it?
So you guys
wasn't it?
know-
Yeah,
You're
I mean,
able
that
to
would-
reserve
Dimitri did the original one, and
the
then I
pool
just made it,
area
so just
or stuff like that if
You
you're
did the
gonna have
black and
Yeah,
a
but I
function.
think I sent it to
So
them.
there is a
So
form
check
for it,
your
you
email.
just fill it
We're
out.
gonna approve this, we
I
might as
used
well
it.
use it
Oh,
on things.
that's
I
like
used
right.
it on this
Oh,
one.
I should.
I agree.
What I'm saying is that if we're gonna already, if we've already approved a form that has this, we might as well use it on this.
Yeah,
All
we
of-
could be
all of
consistent
forms.
with the,
Yeah.
yeah,
To be
might as well be
consistent.
consistent with the
Yeah.
forms.
We're a company, right? So
Yeah.
let's just make it official and
Yeah.
use it across the board.
Where's the pool one, or the cabana
Right
one?
past your financials. That's it right there, that's the back of it.
Oh,
The back of it.
Yeah. So,
You need
so
something
I
like
don't
that.
have that logo, so someone needs to add that
Okay.
to this
You
form.
can check
Which
your
one are you looking at?
emails, I know you get 1,000 emails, but there was an email that had
Oh,
the
the,
logo
the pool thing.
JPEG in it.
This
No,
one?
this one.
But we,
But adding the
I'll send
logo.
it to you again.
Okay, that'd be great.
I could tell. She was like,
Really?
Now, what does it mean if you're reserving the cabana? Like, are you gonna tell people they can't use the tables that are in there because you reserved them, or what does that mean?
No, there's
No.
a section in here about, it's non-exclusive use.
So
Right.
then what is the
Basically,
reason to
what
reserve
it, the reason to reserve it is, let's say there are two different people that are coming in. The people that have signed, like, you could still come in and use the pool, we can't deny that of anyone, so there will be other people in there that are
Right.
residents. But as far as the use of the facility officially for, you know, like a party
For
or
party.
whatever, then they would have first right to use, say, the tables or, you know, the chairs, the equipment, you know, that type of thing,
So that's what I'm saying, is what if you've reserved it for 4 o'clock and you get there and everybody's using every table?
Well, it's just like any other park, like if you ever reserve, you know, with the city or something like that, and, you know, if you reserve it for a birthday party or something, then, you know, you have the right to tell them, hey, you know, I reserved it for this time, I need those tables for my birthday party.
Would an announcement be posted or something?
Yeah, I was
be
about
put
to
up?
get to
yeah,
that.
Because
right, or maybe
it
something
makes
for the,
it,
put it on the
that's like
table.
confrontation.
Should
You
we
know.
put it on like the calendar, on the site?
There should be,
that's, like,
yeah.
It's public?
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
definitely.
and at the pool.
Yeah, at the pool I think is important, because
Yes.
otherwise,
Oh, yeah.
that's too awkward. You know, hey, that's my table. No,
But I
I'm
mean,
sitting
but
here, but that's my table.
realistically, it happens all the time. It happens all the time in many places, it's just,
Yeah, but they have the notice, which
Right.
makes it official.
Right.
Otherwise, I could just say I reserved it.
right. And
Well, you
actually,
would
we can
get-
post.
You would get a copy of this with the deposit and.
And some yeah, you would have that in hand to show them, but, some places do post, the calendar with the name of the person that has it reserved for that time, so.
Well, and it says in here too, the reservation of the cabana does not allow exclusive use of the pool and the facility. So what you're basically just saying is, listen, I'm bringing a group there, I'm leaving you a deposit so that if my group damages your facilities, there's somebody to hold accountable for it.
That's the
How are
main
you
reason
gonna
we want it.
differentiate between a group doing something and the general population that is allowed to be in there at the same time?
Well, I mean, you know, if you have a group in there and, well, these guys are inspecting it too. I mean, if there's a group, you're not gonna protect everything from it. I think their main idea is that they can, if there's gonna be a group in there and then all of a sudden they go down to the pool and there's all this garbage there, well, your event just concluded, someone's gonna check it out, you're gonna be held responsible for it. You know, I'm
It's just
sure
a
that.
starting point, I'm sure there's gonna be, things that kind of fall through like in everything else, but
Well, what
but it's
about like
just a
that
way
situation
to.
when you and I were down there where they
Right.
had that
There are
huge
ways,
group.
yeah, there are ways to be able to tell, in answer to your question, there are ways to be able to tell if it's just a general population or if it's a group. When, I was called one time to go to the pool, and there was literally a group of 20 kids, they were all the same age, and they were all the same family, and you could tell that they were there together, not just by them talking to each other and, whatever, but anyway, so having said that, it also, this paper also makes it more, you also have more accountability. So, because these people have to sign up first, not only are they accountable to leave the place clean, but also because they're an adult and they wanna make sure that if their name's on it, they're gonna be there, rather than send the kids, for example, a group of 20 or whatever.
So is there something that states that says if you're gonna have more than X number of guests, you must sign up ahead of time? 'Cause otherwise, what in the world would motivate people to sign up and make themselves
Well, there's no
liable?
bylaw that says that you have to do that, so technically speaking, you can't make someone do that, but you can post a sign saying, in order to have, a large group, please call
Large
this
is a
number,
relevant
or
term, like when we
Well-
were in North
a group
Carolina.
of 20 or more, you need to have advanced,
When we were in North Carolina, it was literally, if you have more than 5 guests, you have to be signed up.
We started this process because someone wanted to erect a tent near the pool. And there is a specific part in the documents that talks about requiring written permission to erect a tent on a common area of property. So that's how this got started.
but it's not something that we had wanted to do before,
All right, well,
or that could be done.
let me ask a question about going back to the past here. You got this section here about age limit, 14 years of age, accompanied by resident.
We
Yeah.
can't do that.
That's what there's some history there, what is that?
I didn't
My-
put that in there, so I don't know.
My thinking was that as soon as you give an age limit, if we fail to enforce that age limit and something happens, then we're more liable than we would be if we did not.
So you want me to take that out?
Well, regardless, I've been advised by lawyers not to do that.
Okay, so that section would come out.
So take that out.
Guests and residents under the age of 14.
Okay.
But, as opposed to that, we were told also, as a recommendation at the time, that we can post a sign, or even have it in here, that children under the age of whatever are swimming, under their parents' supervision, or that is, not the association's responsibility.
That should be everybody.
Well, it's
You
it's
should
out
have a
there
sign
I think
already.
for that
it's already
for
on
Well,
here.
that's why I said either a sign, or this, or both.
All swimming is at the
To
risk
where?
of the swimmer.
Right.
Advised
Right.
swimming
And it's
together.
it's posted at the pool too.
Not
under the pool
obligated to
rules.
provide lifeguard service. I think we're fine with all that.
Yeah, but like in that situation that day, you had a ton of teenager to tweenagers, and there was over 20 of them. And they were causing havoc, and there was no parental involvement. So what do you do?
Well, technically speaking, they had a resident 19-year-old with them. And
I was there,
If
she
you
was
don't-
not with them at all times.
If you
I
don't know what to
understand
do.
that, but I'm just telling you what was told to me when I came. So that's one of the things that when I went and I'm physically there was only this 19-year-old plus. Again, we cannot by age, restrict the pool access. We can't. So I couldn't enforce that even if I wanted to.
That's what I'm saying, is there a way to say, if you're gonna have more than X number of guests, you must register? and put your deposit down, because I
We
mean,
can put a sign that says that.
they have a right to be there, I mean, and, you know, they were having a big birthday party and they all wanted to go swimming, that's totally acceptable.
Right.
But
I-
I think there needs to be something in writing that says, like you said, the cabana and rent it and the deposit and the whole thing.
If
because
you're
there's
gonna have a group
accountability.
of however many or more, please book your event ahead of time.
Yes,
Something
Well,
that says that.
there's a section in the governing documents that talks about being able to have your guests, and there's nothing in there about limiting the number, so.
Well, we're
It
not
says
saying they
guests
can't,
and
we're
food.
just saying if there's a certain amount, please kindly book it first.
Right.
We're not able to make them do that, but if we kind of set the expectation of, hey, you know, you might wanna do this so that you can make sure that, you know,
you can't make that.
So you wanna come up with that limit
Specifically
now?
for parties, because
Right.
we have family where there's like, you know, 6
Yeah,
people
this
in
is
the
specific.
family, so if we all go to the pool,
Mhm.
it's not a party.
But
Right.
you're close to the limit.
Right.
Well,
Right.
there's 10 in our family, so
Right.
we go to visit somebody else, we're,
I don't know.
but,
Do you wanna come up with a number limit now, or just wanna leave it?
I don't think it's finished, this document.
I'm content to leave it.
I mean,
So-
our HOA in North Carolina, it was in the docs that, you know, over a certain number, you had to reserve it,
But it's not in these docs.
and you
Right.
can't, and that without quorum, correct?
without the whole entire process, as everything else,
Do you
yeah.
wanna table this to work on it some more then, or?
I don't know, what can we do?
I personally don't have a problem with having it. I
Me
just
too.
think as long as you have a sign that says, please kindly call ahead, so to speak, okay?
So we would need to leave that in the bulletin board by the pool?
Maybe, or just a
Something like
sign, you know, within the gate or in front of the gate or, you know, whatever,
Right.
that says, hey, you know, it would be nice if you could please, you know, let us know before you bring a group of X
You
number.
could put that on your website.
You could put it on the website too, absolutely. So I motion to make that number now, again, because of large families and, you know, situations
And
like
you
you're
have
saying.
3 kids and each of them bring a friend.
Right.
You're calling every Saturday and Sunday to say,
Right.
oh, hey,
So
Well,
because
we're
of
coming
that,
to
I
the
think
pool.
it needs to be like 15 or
Limit the number
20.
to visitors accompanying you. In other words, I
Yeah,
don't
so
think
your
you can-
family doesn't count. in the
Members
number.
and their
Yeah,
immediate
that's the way it was
families,
in North
Yeah.
so it
Carolina.
would be number of visitors being.
Yeah, it was the
limited.
Right,
visitors
if you're
on
going to
top of the
have
residents.
a number of, say,
Guests.
10 guests, non-resident guests,
Yes.
with you
Non-resident guests.
at the pool, please
Right,
book it ahead of time.
I mean, I think that makes sense.
I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
I think that,
Non-resident guest is the key word.
right.
All right. How do you want this to read?
That's your motion, you started.
Okay. Okay. I think that we can approve the rules without that 14-year-old thing that we.
That's
that was
deleted.
there.
I already
Right.
forgot about that one.
Okay, so we can approve it as is with that revision, as long as we put a sign at the pool area that says, if you are going to have, and even here too, if you're going to have X number of guests, non-resident guests with you at the pool, please call ahead and book your event.
So now you want me to get a sign made
What
to
is
put
that?
at the pool, is what you're saying?
Well, I think you need to notice it, otherwise how will people know to fill this
Yeah.
form out? You
That's
need-
why I said, you want
yeah.
me to get a sign made.
Yeah,
Non-resident
to.
guests, how many?
that's the
10,
question.
I don't know, 10 or more?
I would say
Did
10 or
not.
15. I,
Well, again, this is the non-resident guests who are
Yes.
who are accompanying you.
Right.
So, you know, if you're a family of 10,
Right.
and all of your kids bring a friend, I mean, maybe it's, I don't know.
That's a party.
Maybe it's 10, right?
Yeah, I think no more than 10.
Because that would be 20 right there.
Yeah,
That pool's not that big.
yeah.
Right.
I
I
would
know the
Won't be
times
any
when I
water
bring
left.
friends.
There
I
will
don't
never
get
be a
it.
time when all 10 of us have a guest. There's too many
Non-resident
people.
guests,
I never go there.
non-resident
10 or
guests
more.
greater than 10, please inform management.
perfect.
I think we should.
Okay,
Say
Inform
more,
management.
say more than 10 rather than greater than 10, so somebody doesn't think that's
Let
like
them
an
pay us rent.
okay.
Yeah.
Of more than 10, non-resident
More than
guests,
10 people.
The association rent, they won't want to do that, you just let them.
more than 10,
Money.
okay. Please inform management, okay.
Prior
So
to
so
your
that
event.
you can reserve.
Prior
do-
to your
do that
event.
form.
Prior to visiting,
Yes.
okay.
You're so good with words.
Okay. that's done.
We still haven't done the ARC applications.
Yes.
We're doing those right now. That's the next one. All right, here we go.
It's like a stack.
I know.
Well, these I'm
She's like-
holding. Yeah.
You know, I know, and some of these recommendations were made with the assumption that there was a consent agenda,
Which there
but there
wasn't
wasn't
yet.
yet, so.
Yeah,
I know.
I know.
So it's a little bit behind the 8 ball.
yeah.
So which one would you
The
like
way
to
I
do
figure you'll
first?
do this is at the beginning of the meeting, these would just be included.
Doesn't matter, you have
You know.
copies
Okay.
of them?
2433,
Mhm.
it's for fencing.
Is that the one that was encroaching and had to be moved?
That's correct.
Mhm. Right, well,
Motion to
what's our recommendation on the front of them?
Confirm entire fence, all 3 sides are within the lot.
No, it should say on the front.
On the very
Deborah.
front, there's red writing on the bottom.
Approved as marked.
That's it.
See
Okay.
attached.
There you go, fantastic.
All right.
Check.
We-
So-
Moving on.
Right, thank
All
you.
right.
So do we have to motion to accept the committee's recommendation, or do we,
How about you
do
go,
that?
how about you go over all of them, and then if there's any objection to any of
Okay,
them,
there you
we'll
go.
just,
All right, that's the
we'll
same
deal with
one.
the ones that we have
Then you have
objections to.
you have 30.
Any objections to that first one, the fence? No objection.
That was
Okay.
like the first one,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, well, that was the application. There was an existing fence with no ARC application. Originally, it was off over the property line, the homeowners agreed to relocate it to their property. That's what that is.
Right, 3172 Spicer. Looks like I have a pool
Pool and fence.
and fence.
Mhm. Again, that's, I think,
Approved with
approved as.
conditions.
Yeah, approved with conditions.
No objections here.
What were the conditions? I don't remember that one.
The conditions were, to be certain that they're providing child safety hardware
Oh.
on the gates, to align the fence with 2 neighboring fences, at least on one side. The other side, it won't align, it's the other one set back way far.
Gotcha, okay. Yeah,
No conditions, you know,
Okay.
like in the fence.
Okay.
Like,
James and Phyllis, of course, they're just painting their house. It's pretty much.
Same color,
Same
right.
color.
Mhm.
It's
Right.
finished.
And-
It's finished.
Great, well, and you'll notice too.
Did you like them?
We did.
Was that
Yes.
Lewis?
No.
No?
No.
And you'll notice too that the new ARC alteration application lists things that do not require application.
Yeah.
One of them is restoring your house to the same.
But there's been
color.
so much controversy over painting.
I know.
That I tell people to
I-
go on the conservative side and submit
I
it.
got you.
Then
The ARC-
I-
the
then
ARC
I
is
can
not-
at least
and
file it.
Going strictly with the covenants and restrictions document, it's not a requirement to file. If you're
I know,
just
but
gonna
if they call me and they
We
ask
also
me,
have
Chain.
cracks resolved too,
Yeah.
so we
Yeah,
get this filled in
understood.
and then.
I know, I have to do the same
Did you
thing with
use the
my
guy
house.
that I gave you the phone number for?
Yeah, you did.
Oh,
He
okay.
couldn't get in.
Oh, really? He didn't
It was
answer
the
you?
wrong number or what?
Oh.
2608 Limerick, you have a play structure, and then she did submit her application for
Right,
the trampoline.
Correct, right. Just for the board's note, and for everybody else here also, so the ARC is in the process right now of establishing a document that is more concise for the community. What the requirements are, so I've been going through the covenants and restrictions and looking at the specific requirements for different things, and I've downloaded a few other communities' ARC documents as a guideline, and so we're just preparing sort of a document.
It's like an info sheet kind of thing.
It's like an info sheet. If you're going to do this, then this is what's required, and or this, then you don't have to do anything, right, so sort of this kind of document. And unfortunately, trampolines is one of the things that came up and is still in an open discussion. So in order to move your application forward, that's why we just asked you to submit the trampoline application, okay? It's not that we would deny it, just because we have to take all applications right now until we can establish rules.
So I have 5, no one had any problems with them?
No.
So I can just move forward to approve them?
Yes. Do I need to sign them?
What was this last one here?
3248, removal of wood fencing.
Oh, yes. That was just, and you had me put it on the agenda, so I
Yep.
did. Yeah, because they put the wood fencing around for the enclosure for the garbage.
Mhm.
And the previous board, and it was decided amongst them, the person was here, that they would remove it. I was over there again when I posted it, it is not gone.
No, they're trying to hide it
Okay,
with
there's,
plants.
there's landscaping there, but it's not gone.
No,
So I need you to tell me how to go forward with that, because it was
It's a
very clear
violation
that
and
it
it
was
needs-
going to be taken out.
yes. And it's a violation and needs to go.
And people have called me on it, here's a picture of it.
Yep.
And I was there Friday, I
See
think
the
it
wood?
was, and it's still there.
Right now, it's more, there's a lot more plants. It's completely covered with the exception of this portion here. And,
It's very noticeable.
well, the plants also look like they haven't
Well,
really.
and here's the deal, the homeowner
trimmed
was
them. They're not
here,
cleaned
they
up either.
agreed to remove it, they knew that they were supposed to,
Yeah.
and it's still just not been done, so
Right.
now I need you to tell me how you want me to go forward.
I think maybe just a reminder letter. I don't think that we should try to do a fine at this
Did
point.
you wanna
because
use
we
one of
don't have the-
those alteration,
actual committee
well,
in place
yeah,
yet.
Well, we
because
can't
there
do a
was actually an
fine, but,
alteration application submitted
Sure we
for
can
it.
for nothing.
Well, yes, but I'm saying like you said, without the planning committee. So all we can do at this point is still treat them though as a violation. And so that's what I'd like to do, is
Alright, so
continue
I
to
can
treat it
send
as
her
a
a
violation.
violation, alright,
Boredom.
alright, that'll do.
I have a question. Trampolines you were talking about, are there requirements as far as how those things get anchored?
It's a good question, and I'll tell you, I have that in another association, people are requiring them, cause you get a big wind or something, and
Yeah, and they go
Exactly.
blown away.
it blows that off into someone else's property and
Exactly.
causes damages, that's
Because the
why.
house we're in is one story. It's longer than the house next door, which is a two-story. So if it blows away, it's gonna come into our screen.
Yeah, yeah, and then, and then you approve the application, but, so now there's.
Does it come with any hardware, like anchor
You
hardware or
can't
anything?
anchor it.
No.
We
And-
took it in for the hurricanes, we,
Right.
I read them, like associations, if you're missing your trampoline, I was like, nope, we're not missing ours in the garage.
Right.
So-
I mean, and I've seen, of the 3 standard other community art documents that I've downloaded, 2 of the 3 don't allow trampolines at all. I mean, we're not in that position. Obviously, we're a community with families and,
Right.
there's already a ton of trampolines in the neighborhood. But we just, as far as I'm concerned, as the chairperson of the art, I wanna make sure that they're at least following the rules for placement of those elements. It's the individual homeowner's liability if the thing blows away in a hurricane and damages their neighbor's house. That's not something
Right.
the ARC really should be involved with.
Or the association.
Or the association, that's a
Correct.
homeowner to homeowner problem.
Correct.
I'm just concerned about the placement of the element in compliance with the covenants and
Mhm.
With the
restrictions,
covenants,
really,
yeah.
that's it.
Agreed.
So,
And
I
that's
mean,
all
but then
that
there are
our
others on
research
the
should be.
ARC that don't feel we need applications. And obviously the builder felt that way too, when
Yeah.
they were running the HOA. That's why they told everybody, oh, yeah, just put it up after we leave, they didn't care. As long as they sold their houses, what did they care?
Right, yeah,
So-
we literally asked before we signed our contract.
No, I get it, a
Because
lot
we
of
had,
people.
well, our
do.
house in Pennsylvania was for sale for 3 years, and so we bought this trampoline, and our children had it in our garage
Oh,
in Pennsylvania for
no.
18 months.
Oh, that's horrible.
Until we sold our house. So that was literally a contingency.
We
Can we
have
put up
to
our
put up
trampoline,
the
please?
trampoline.
Because we were gonna set it up in Pennsylvania and then take it apart and bring it.
Right, oh, that's
So-
Okay,
horrible.
so we're all settled on that. I am still in contact with the towing company. He's supposed to be looking at how many signs he needs out there. And I followed up with him and he hasn't returned my call yet, so I'll follow up again with him tomorrow. And
This
then,
is for the area, the community buffer areas or whatever.
and over at the Cabana.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the cabana parking and the
Yeah.
right of way,
Mhm.
Yeah.
for the emergency access.
Right. Those are the 2 places plus the entrance where there has to be a sign.
Yeah.
And then, operations of your video camera, you're the only one that apparently knows how to operate it?
Because I was here from the previous board. How do I explain to another board member how to use it? Because I have to be there to use it.
That's what I mean, you're gonna have to
So-
show us.
I think
It's-
that if it's a meeting for that sort of technical purposes, that it can be a closed meeting with just the
Yeah,
three of us.
yeah, you're just
We're
showing
not
how
gonna
to
talk about
use
any
an
other
Well, I
amendment.
was just told if two of you are in the same building and you're doing association business, you have to notice it. So
We're not
that's
necessarily
why I'm-
doing business, as long as we don't make a decision.
Yeah,
Okay,
If we just learn about the existing,
okay, well then, as long as that's the case, then I have no problems meeting up with someone and
Okay.
showing, with everybody, and showing you how to
Okay.
use it. It's not hard, you just need the link.
you just wanna work over emails in the next few days to arrange it.
yeah, you guys just let me know when you can, cause I definitely would like to, see how to operate it.
Mhm.
Right now, you have to take a laptop down to the pool
Right.
area and you log in
Or
through the
your
Wi-Fi.
phone, there is this, you can actually do this,
My
but you
life
have
is
to be
about meetings.
within, you have to, it basically sends out its own little type of Wi-Fi signal
They have
that you
computers
have
that
to
do
be
that.
there to catch. You probably
like
know what
my
I'm
paper
talking about.
Bluetooth signal, I imagine, short range, 30 foot.
It sits on my desk.
This app right here can be used on your phone to view it.
It's my calendar on my refrigerator.
With my hours every day too.
No, I have two hard copies and the computer.
So when would you
calendar.
guys like to do that, cause I work now every day.
I'm flexible, so anytime's pretty much good for me.
I could do a Saturday.
You guys go ahead and do that. I'll hook up with you and find out how to work that later.
She doesn't work on Saturdays.
You can FaceTime from the beach.
I'm still saying no. So that's between you guys.
You wanna do it
Actually-
this Saturday?
Actually, Friday, I'm taking off, so if we do it early enough in the morning,
Yeah, that'd be good.
everybody
Alright, what
can do
time?
it.
Friday the 31st?
Yep, it's my son's birthday, so, as early as possible so I can get it done and go to Disney.
So what time? Go to the Pandora. I'm just, go ahead.
I plan on it.
It's incredible.
8:30? Is that too early for everybody?
All right,
Yeah,
8:30.
works for me at least.
Oh.
9?
All right, how about 9?
9:30?
He's got a newborn, remember?
Well, plus I have work too. Yeah, you guys might have to
Do it without you?
just take a video or something.
Right.
Like, just-
Well, that's a good
I
idea,
mean, it's not gonna
actually.
be hard for me to figure it out.
I think,
Then you'll have it for posterity too.
yeah.
That's right. Yeah, I can take the GoPro down there and just record whatever. we
Yeah,
want.
you know
Okay.
what, if you email that to me, I could just file it.
You wanna do 9 AM?
Yeah, you
Friday
guys
the
could just
31st?
email that to me.
That way you don't
This
have
is
to come
getting
out.
better.
They will be going to
Okay, so it looks like it's
videotape.
just you and me going.
All right, this Friday at 9 AM?
Yep.
Okay, when do you wanna meet next month?